Lily stood in the kitchen, hands trembling as she adjusted the roasting pan inside the oven. The golden brown chicken sizzled in its own juices, filling the air with the warm, buttery scent of garlic and herbs. It was James's favorite dish, one she had perfected over the years. But tonight it wasn't just about pleasing her husband. It was about surviving dinner with his mother, Victoria, the woman who had made it her mission to make Lily feel like an outsider in her own marriage. Lily glanced at the clock. 6:45 p.m. James had sent her a text nearly 20 minutes ago. Picking up Mom now. Be nice. As if she was the problem. Lily let out a slow, controlled breath, trying to shake off the anger simmering beneath her skin. Victoria had always been difficult, but ever since Lily had married James, she had become unbearable. Every visit was a carefully disguised attack, her words polite on the surface but sharp enough to cut deep. Nothing Lily did was ever good enough. If she cooked, Victoria found a flaw. If she decorated, Victoria had a suggestion. If she spoke, Victoria had a way of making her feel small. Tonight would be no different. The sound of the front door opening sent a chill through Lily's spine. Mom, come in, James's cheerful voice called out. Lily's been cooking all day. You're going to love it. Then came Victoria's voice, smooth, sharp, and drenched in condescension. Oh, I can already smell it, she said. There was a pause, then, a little strong, don't you think? Lily shut the oven door, straightened her back, and turned around just in time to see Victoria striding into the kitchen. There she was, impeccably dressed as always, her silk blouse tucked neatly into a tailored trousers. Her hair was curled into a perfect bob, her makeup flawless. Even her perfume, expensive and overwhelming, announced her presence before she even spoke. Her sharp eyes scanned the kitchen, moving from the countertops to the dining table. Lily braced herself. Victoria let out a sigh. A bit cluttered, don't you think? Lily forced a smile. I was just finishing up dinner. Victoria hummed in that way she always did when she wanted to pretend she wasn't being openly critical. She took a step toward the dining table and let her manicured fingers run along the edge. Oh dear, she murmured. Paper napkins? Lily's grip on the counter tightened. I suppose some people prefer casual dining, Victoria continued, inspecting the place settings as if they were offensive to her. James walked in, completely oblivious to the tension in the room. He placed a warm hand on Lily's lower back and smiled. Babe, everything looks amazing. Victoria arched a delicate brow. Well, let's hope it tastes amazing too. Lily clenched her teeth behind her smile. It was starting. They sat down for dinner, the glow of the chandelier casting a soft light over the table. Lily forced herself to eat, even though every bite felt like swallowing nails. Victoria had barely touched her food, stirring it around her plate like a disapproving food critic. Then came the first strike. So James, Victoria said, setting down her fork with a deliberate clink. Guess who I ran into today? James barely looked up from his plate. Who? Victoria smiled. A slow, deliberate smile. Claire. The room felt colder. Lily's grip tightened around her fork. Claire. James's ex. The one Victoria had never stopped talking about. She looked absolutely stunning, Victoria continued, her eyes flicking briefly to Lily. She's doing so well for herself now. Recently got promoted to a senior executive position. Can you believe it? James let out an awkward chuckle. Oh, that's great, Mom. Victoria sighed wistfully. You know, you two made such a beautiful couple. So refined. So elegant. She took a sip of wine, then, as if just remembering Lily was there, turned her gaze toward her. Some women just have that natural charm, don't they? The insult was subtle, but it landed like a punch to the stomach. James was too busy chewing to notice. Lily, however, felt the words sink into her skin like tiny daggers. This wasn't the first time Victoria had done this, bringing up Claire as if she were some goddess James had foolishly let go. As if Lily were a downgrade. And for years Lily had let it go. She had smiled through the insults, swallowed the pain, convinced herself that one day Victoria would accept her. But tonight was different. Tonight Lily didn't just feel hurt. She felt angry. Not the kind of anger that made her want to cry. No. This anger was cold. Controlled. Victoria had been playing this game for years. She had always been in control, always the one pulling the strings. But she had underestimated Lily. Because Lily had been paying attention. Now she was ready to play too. She wouldn't lash out. She wouldn't argue. That's what Victoria wanted. That's what she thrived on. But Lily would fight with something Victoria didn't expect. Patience, strategy, and most importantly, control. Victoria had no idea what was coming. Lily picked up her fork, smiled sweetly, and took another bite of her food. Dinner continued in tense silence. The soft clinking of silverware against porcelain was the only sound filling the room, apart from James's occasional hum of approval as he ate. Lily watched Victoria, studying her every movement, every calculated expression. Victoria had barely touched her food, pushing it around her plate like a child refusing vegetables. It was a silent insult, one Lily had grown accustomed to. But tonight things were different. Victoria thought she was in control. She thought she could manipulate every conversation, twist every situation to make Lily feel less than. But for the first time in years, Lily wasn't going to sit there and take it. Victoria had made her first move, bringing up Claire, the ex-girlfriend she still worshipped. It was a familiar tactic meant to make Lily feel insecure. But not this time. Lily took a sip of her wine and smiled sweetly. Time to play. She tilted her head slightly as if in thought. Claire, she repeated, her voice filled with curiosity. That's wonderful to hear. I always felt a little sorry for her, you know. Victoria's fork paused midair. Sorry. James looked up from his plate, confused. What do you mean? Lily leaned forward slightly, lowering her voice as if sharing a secret. Well, I mean, it must be exhausting trying to live up to everyone's expectations. You know how it is, always having to be perfect. She gave a small shrug, her expression effortlessly kind. I heard she went through a rough breakup last year. That must have been difficult for her. Victoria's expression flickered. A crack in the mask. James frowned. Wait, she had a breakup? I didn't know that. Lily's smile didn't falter. Oh, I just assumed. Women like Claire. Well, they attract the kind of men who expect perfection. And no one can keep up with that forever, right? Victoria's lips pressed together. Checkmate. For the first time she didn't have a response. James, still oblivious to the tension thickening in the room, nodded. That's true, I guess. Anyway, Mom, what else is new? Victoria didn't answer right away. She was too busy studying Lily, as if trying to figure out when and how she had lost control of the conversation. Lily just smiled, lifting her wine glass to take another sip. After dinner, James excused himself to take a work call, leaving Lily and Victoria alone in the living room. Lily didn't mind. She had been waiting for this. Victoria sat on the couch, her fingers curled around a delicate porcelain teacup. Even the way she drank tea was precise, controlled, like everything else in her life. Her sharp eyes roamed the living room, taking in every detail, looking for something to criticize. She found it quickly. I noticed the mantel is looking a little cluttered, she said, her voice laced with fake politeness. Lily followed her gaze. The mantel was decorated with framed photos, snapshots of her and James over the years. Their wedding picture sat in the center, surrounded by candid moments from vacations, birthdays, and holidays. And then, tucked into the corner, was an old photo of James as a child, standing next to Victoria. Lily turned back to her mother-in-law and smiled. Oh, I love having memories around. It makes the house feel warm. Victoria let out a quiet hum, the kind she used when she was about to say something cruel disguised as helpful. Sometimes less is more, dear. A home should feel sophisticated, not? She gestured vaguely. Messy. Lily took a slow sip of her tea. If Victoria expected her to get defensive, she was about to be disappointed. You know, you're absolutely right, Lily said, setting down her cup. She stood and walked toward the mantel, picking up the photo of James and Victoria. She turned it over in her hands, pretending to examine it. Maybe I should take a few things down, she continued, her voice casual. You know, to make room for new memories. Victoria's fingers tightened around her teacup. That's not what I meant, she said, her tone losing its usual smoothness. Lily gave a soft laugh, cutting her off. Oh, don't worry, Victoria. I know how sentimental you are about the past. She turned and placed the frame back on the mantel. Face down. Victoria's mouth opened slightly as if she wanted to say something, but for once she didn't have the words. Lily returned to her seat, gracefully lifting her teacup again. She took a slow sip, never breaking eye contact. Victoria's shoulders stiffened. This was new. Lily had always been polite, always been passive. Not anymore. Victoria had spent years dominating every conversation, Every interaction, every moment. But tonight the balance had shifted. And she knew it. The silence stretched between them. Lily didn't mind. It gave Victoria time to process what had just happened. But Lily also knew something else. Victoria wasn't the type to accept defeat quietly. Sure enough, after a few moments, her mother-in-law placed her teacup down with a little too much force and let out a long, drawn-out sigh. "You know, dear," she began, her tone dripping with feigned concern, "marriage is hard work. And James, well, he's used to a certain kind of care." Lily tilted her head, feigning curiosity. "Oh." Victoria nodded solemnly. "Yes. You know, I always made sure he had home-cooked meals, a clean house, and," she smiled sweetly, "a woman who understood how to support him properly." Lily almost laughed. So this was her next move. Subtle but predictable. She set down her teacup and folded her hands in her lap. "Oh, absolutely," she said, nodding. "James does deserve that kind of care." Victoria's eyes gleamed. She thought she had one. That's when Lily leaned in slightly, lowering her voice just enough to make her words feel intimate. "And that's why," she continued, "I remind him every day how lucky he is to have me." Victoria's face froze. Lily kept going, her smile never faltering. "He tells me all the time how much he appreciates that I don't try to control him. That I don't pressure him to be someone he's not." She took a slow breath as if savoring the moment. "You know, I think it's the reason we're so happy." Victoria's hands curled slightly against her lap. Lily could see it, the realization. Victoria was losing him. James wasn't her little boy anymore. He wasn't hers to control. And that terrified her. Lily reached for her cup again, hiding her smile behind the rim. Victoria had spent years treating her like she was nothing. But tonight she had learned something very important. Lily was not weak. And this battle? It had only just begun. Victoria sat stiffly on the couch, her fingers tightening around the porcelain teacup in her hand. Her perfectly composed mask was beginning to slip, just slightly, but Lily saw it. Felt it. Good. The silence in the living room was thick, charged. Lily let it stretch between them, knowing it would make Victoria uneasy. She thrived on control, on being the one to dictate the conversation. But tonight, for the first time, she wasn't in charge. Lily had made sure of that. Victoria finally set her teacup down, the ceramic clinking just a little too hard against the saucer. "You know, dear," she said, her voice laced with artificial sweetness, "James has always been very particular. He likes things done a certain way." Lily tilted her head, pretending to think about that. "Oh, of course. He tells me all the time how much he appreciates how I take care of him." Victoria's lips twitched. She hadn't expected that. Lily continued. "He actually thanked me last night for understanding his needs so well. Said he's never felt more supported in his life." She let out a soft, dreamy sigh as if lost in thought. "It's funny, really. I never thought I'd be so good at this whole marriage thing." Victoria's expression barely changed, but Lily saw the flicker in her eyes. The way her jaw tensed, her fingers curled slightly against the couch. That was the thing about Victoria. She never exploded. Never shouted or caused a scene. Her cruelty was precise. Calculated. She knew exactly how to plant seeds of doubt and insecurity, how to make people question themselves without ever raising her voice. Too bad for her, Lily had learned the game. Victoria gave a tight smile. "That's lovely, dear. Of course, marriage is a long journey. Sometimes, men say those things in the beginning, but as time goes on, well, they realize what they truly need." Lily's smile never wavered. "Oh, absolutely. That's why I always make sure to check in with James. We communicate about everything. It's the foundation of our relationship." Victoria pressed her lips together. Another small victory. Later that night, as Lily lay in bed next to James, she stared at the ceiling, thinking. Tonight had been a test. She had gone up against Victoria in a way she never had before, and for the first time she hadn't let the woman shake her. But Lily knew this wasn't over. Victoria wouldn't just back down. She would escalate. James shifted in his sleep beside her, mumbling something incoherent. Lily turned on her side, watching him. He had no idea what was really happening, how his mother had been slowly trying to destroy their marriage from the very beginning. And why would he? Victoria was an expert at playing innocent. She never outright insulted Lily in front of James. She didn't yell or demand things from him. No, her manipulation was much more subtle than that. She planted doubts. Questions. And now Lily saw the truth. Victoria wasn't trying to break up their marriage overnight. She was playing the long game. And that meant Lily had to be smarter. She needed a plan. One that would not only protect her relationship but make sure Victoria never had a chance to control James again. And Lily knew exactly how to do it. A few days later, Victoria called James out of the blue. Lily had been expecting this. Victoria never lost gracefully. She sat on the couch, folding laundry while James paced the living room with the phone pressed to his ear. She couldn't hear exactly what his mother was saying, but she could guess. She watched as James's face shifted, from surprise to confusion, then a small frown. Interesting. Finally he sighed. Mom, I don't think that's a good idea. Lily kept her expression neutral, folding one of James's shirts as if she wasn't listening to every word. James ran a hand through his hair. No, it's not that. I don't know if Lily would be comfortable with that. Lily's hands stilled. Here we go. James sighed again, rubbing the back of his neck. Hey, I'll talk to her. He hung up and turned to Lily, looking uneasy. Lily placed the folded shirt on the pile and smiled. What's up? James hesitated. My mom was just asking if she could stay with us for a little while. Lily's stomach clenched, but she didn't let it show. Oh. James sat down beside her, running a hand down his face. She says she's been feeling really lonely lately. And I don't know, she sounded kinda sad. I think she just wants to spend more time with us. Sad? Lily almost laughed. Victoria didn't feel sad. This wasn't about loneliness. This was about control. If she moved in, even for a short time, she'd have access to their lives 24/7. She'd be able to criticize Lily's every move, influence James in ways she couldn't from a distance. Lily took a slow breath. She couldn't say no outright. That's what Victoria wanted, to make her look like the bad guy. So instead she tilted her head as if in thought. I mean, if she really needs it, of course we should help. James looked relieved. Really? Lily nodded. Of course. She reached for his hand, squeezing it. But I just want to make sure she feels comfortable too. If she's lonely, maybe it would be better if we helped her find something more permanent, like a nice condo nearby. That way she has her space but isn't alone. James hesitated. I don't know, Lily. She made it sound like she just wants to be around family for a little while. Lily gave a small nod. That makes sense. But, I just don't want her to feel like she's overstaying or like we're forcing her into something she doesn't want. Maybe we should talk to her together, see what would be best for everyone. James nodded slowly. Yeah, that's a good idea. Lily smiled, but inside her mind was already working. Victoria thought she was moving into their home? Not a chance. The next day Lily made a phone call of her own. Hi, Mrs. Johnson. It's Lily. James's mother had a few close friends. Older women who had known her for years, women who gossiped. Lily had been paying attention. Oh, Lily dear. How are you? Mrs. Johnson chirped. I'm well, thank you, Lily said warmly. I was actually calling because I heard Victoria has been feeling a little lonely lately. I was thinking, maybe she'd enjoy getting more involved with her friends? Maybe a weekly gathering or something fun to keep her busy? Mrs. Johnson let out a delighted laugh. Oh, she hasn't mentioned being lonely to me. But that's a wonderful idea. We've been meaning to set something up. Lily grinned. Perfect. By the time Victoria found out, it would already be in motion. She would have no reason to move in. And once again, Lily would win without ever raising her voice. Victoria had no idea what was coming. Lily sat across from her at the dining table a week later, watching as her mother-in-law daintily sipped her tea. There was something different about her tonight. A strange tension in her shoulders, a flicker of impatience behind her usually controlled expression. Lily knew why. Her plan was working. Victoria had called James twice that morning, hinting again that she was feeling lonely and needed to stay with them for a while. James, now armed with Lily's careful suggestions, had responded enthusiastically about how wonderful it was that Victoria's friends were planning new gatherings for her. He had unknowingly shut down her plan before it even started. And now Victoria was seething. She just didn't know who to blame yet. Lily picked up her teacup and took a slow sip. Time to push a little further. You must be so excited, Lily said lightly, setting her cup down. Mrs. Johnson told me about the new gatherings. She said you'll be meeting every Thursday for lunch. Victoria's fingers tightened around her saucer. So she didn't know. Lily had gone straight to Victoria's closest friends, making sure they arranged it before Victoria could protest. Now if she refused to attend she'd look rude. And Victoria hated looking rude. Victoria forced a smile. Oh, yes. It was quite a surprise. Lily widened her eyes. I'm so glad. I was worried you'd feel out of place here if you moved in with us. But now you won't have to. Victoria's smile twitched. Oh dear, I don't think James would mind his mother staying with him for a while. Lily tilted her head. Of course not. He loves you. But, men do need their space. And I wouldn't want you to feel like a guest in your own son's home. Victoria's jaw clenched. That was it. She was losing. And she knew it. That night Victoria made one last desperate attempt. James and Lily had just finished dinner when his phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen and sighed. It's my mom again. Lily, drying dishes, smiled. You should answer. James walked into the living room and put the phone to his ear. Hey Mom. What's up? Lily listened from the kitchen, pretending not to pay attention. Then James sat up straighter. Wait, what? Lily turned, her heartbeat slowing. Victoria was crying. James rubbed his forehead, distressed. Mom, I don't understand. Who said you're not wanted? Oh, she's good. Lily walked into the living room, placing a gentle hand on James's shoulder. Everything okay? James gave her a helpless look. She thinks we don't want her here. That we're pushing her away. Lily gasped. Oh no. That's not true at all. She gestured for the phone. Let me talk to her. James hesitated, then handed it over. Lily pressed the phone to her ear. Victoria, I'm so sorry if we made you feel unwelcome. That was never our intention. Victoria sniffled. I just wanted to be close to James. I don't understand why you don't want me here. Lily's voice softened. Oh, Victoria, it's not that. I just know how important your independence is. You're such a strong, capable woman. I'd hate to see you give up your freedom. Victoria's breath caught. Lily had hit the mark. You deserve to have your own space, Lily continued, layering on the sweetness. Not be stuck here in a house that isn't yours. Don't you think? Victoria hesitated. Well, I suppose. Lily smiled. And besides, if you stayed here, how would you keep up with your friends? You'd be missing all those new lunches and gatherings. Checkmate. Victoria fell silent. Lily waited, pretending to be patient. Finally, Victoria let out a slow sigh. Maybe you're right. Lily beamed. I knew you'd understand. She handed the phone back to James, who looked relieved. See, Mom? We all just want what's best for you. Victoria didn't argue. She had been defeated. And the best part? She never even saw the trap closing in. A week later, Victoria made her big announcement. I've decided to get a condo of my own, she told James over dinner. It's close enough that I can visit often, but I think it's time I have my own space. Lily could have laughed out loud. James smiled. That's great, Mom. I think you'll love it. Victoria shot a glance at Lily, her eyes narrowing slightly. He knew. She knew Lily had orchestrated this. But what could she do? Lily had been nothing but kind, supportive, encouraging. Victoria had spent years trying to break her. Instead, Lily broke her. No. Victoria was finally out of their lives. For good. Victoria's departure from their home was quiet. No grand fights, no dramatic outbursts. Just a single forced smile as she stepped into her car with the last of her boxes. For the first time in her life, she had lost a battle she couldn't recover from. Lily stood by James's side as he waved his mother off, a warm hand resting on his back. She had won. But it wasn't over yet. Victoria wasn't the type to simply disappear. She would wait. Watch from the sidelines, hoping for the moment Lily made a mistake, an opening to creep back into their lives. Lily knew this, but what Victoria didn't realize was that Lily was always 3 steps ahead. The first few weeks after Victoria's move were blissful. James seemed more relaxed, as if a weight had been lifted from his shoulders. Their home felt lighter, filled with laughter instead of tension. Lily found herself sleeping better, eating better, breathing better. Victoria, however, wasn't as silent as they had hoped. At first it was small things, unannounced visits, calls at odd hours. James brushed them off as normal, but Lily knew better. Victoria was testing the waters, looking for a way back in. Lily wasn't about to let that happen. She waited patiently, setting her next move in place. And then the perfect opportunity came. It was a Sunday afternoon when James's phone rang. Lily was preparing dinner when she heard him sigh. It's Mom again. She turned, pretending to be casual. Oh. What does she want? James answered and put the phone on speaker. Hey Mom. James, darling. Victoria's voice was smooth, but Lily could hear the underlying sharpness. I was just wondering, why haven't you visited me yet? James frowned. Mom, I told you work's been busy. We've just been settling into everything. Victoria sighed dramatically. You mean Lily's been keeping you too busy? Lily stiffened. James blinked. What? Oh, don't act like you don't see it, James. Ever since you married that girl, things have changed. You barely call, barely visit. And now she's managed to push me out completely. Can't you see what she's doing? Lily went still. This was it. The moment. James's eyes flicked to her, uncertain. This was exactly what Victoria wanted, to plant doubt. To make him question everything. Lily had to act fast. She took a breath, then let out a small, shaky sigh. Then, in a soft, broken voice, she whispered, Victoria, do you really think so little of me? The silence on the other end was sharp. James turned fully to her, concern flashing in his eyes. Lily. Lily blinked rapidly as if fighting back tears. I never wanted to come between you and your mother. I only ever wanted to be part of this family. But if she thinks I'm the problem, she trailed off, swallowing hard. Maybe I should be the one to leave. James immediately stiffened. What? No. Lily, that's not what she meant. Victoria tried to backtrack. Oh, don't be so dramatic, dear. Lily sniffled. I would never want to cause a divide. Maybe I should give you both some space. James grabbed her hand. Lily, stop, he said firmly. You're my wife. You belong here. No one is pushing you out. Then he turned back to the phone, his voice hardening. Mom, I don't know what you're trying to do, but enough is enough. Victoria's tone sharpened. James. No, listen to me. His grip on Lily's hand tightened. Lily has done nothing but try to get along with you. And I'm sick of the way you treat her. You are the one pushing yourself away from this family, not her. Lily bit her lip, lowering her gaze as if trying to compose herself. She didn't need to add anything else. James had completely taken her side. Victoria tried one last time. James, you don't understand. No, Mom. You don't understand. His voice was firm, steady. I love Lily. She's my wife. And if you can't accept that, then maybe we really do need some space. Lily could practically feel Victoria's shock. For years she had controlled James. Manipulated him. Kept him under her influence. Now, she had lost him. For the first time, James had chosen Lily over her. And Victoria knew there was no coming back from this. She was defeated. Completely. That night as they lay in bed, James wrapped his arms tightly around Lily, pulling her close. I'm sorry, he murmured. For not seeing it sooner. For letting her treat you like that for so long. Lily smiled softly, resting her head against his chest. You see it now. That's all that matters. James pressed a kiss to her forehead. I won't let her come between us again. Lily closed her eyes, finally at peace. Victoria had spent years trying to break her. But in the end, she was the one who had been broken. And Lily? She had won. Not through hate. Not through anger. But by being smarter. By never letting Victoria see her coming. No. Victoria would never be a threat again.